How about I try this? Aviator coffee is an old Starbucks that's been converted. Oh no, this is not right. I'm not good at this.
Welcome to day 3 of our 2024 Summer Route 66 adventure from Illinois to Santa Monica Pier. If you sat through our adventures from San Diego all the way up to our stay in Chicago, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's the first official day of the road trip. Day 1 will be covering Chicago traveling across Illinois, Westchester, Burr Ridge, Joliet, Braidwood, Gardner, Dwight, Odell, Pontiac, Formal, Funks Grove, Atlanta, and finally into Springfield, Illinois. We kick off the trip to fuel our drug addiction at Aviator Coffee and Cocktails. It looks like a Starbucks got gutted and redesigned with a modern retro feel, offering premium coffee drinks and snacks, plus an additional cocktail bar. Much to Lisa's dismay, however, alcohol wouldn't be served until later in the day. With coffee in hand, we begin the drive towards Route 66.
So here we are, not at Route 66.
Except that some of our first stops won't even be open when we arrive. In anticipation of this, our first non-official stop is in a very posh neighborhood in Westchester. They happen to have a playground that highlights and to some extent replicates some of the most famous Route 66 stops. While not an official stop, it's a great prelude and preview of what we might be expecting on the Mother Road. Equally as impressive as the playground itself is the community center here in Westchester. A beautifully designed recreation center with spaces for community activities like yoga, arts, and crafts, and decorated with a fireplace, aquarium, and a large artificial tree. Considering this area was surrounded by multi-million-dollar palatial estates, the property tax was certainly put to great use for this luxurious playground and community center. Up next is our first official Route 66 stop. The Joliet prison is known to us from the Blues Brothers movie and the namesake of Joliet Jake. Not that we were planning on it, but the prison usually offers tours, except it was at the time under a lot of construction. Beyond the prison was a haunted prison tour. I think in a world where we had more time to explore, this would have been an excellent stop considering Roman's interest in things creepy and scary.
We're here at the old Joliet prison. I just wanted to show you my son. Well, me and Lisa are walking around excited. There's the boy right there on his phone. Hey, why aren't you with the family doing family things? We're at a old Joliet prison. Why aren't you hanging out with us?
From here, we would start our momentum of hitting several Route 66 mainstays. The rich and creamy ice cream shop with the Blues Brothers performing on top. I had a cherry-dipped cone, Lisa had a tiny mini cone, and of course Roman ordered the gut-busting dirt bowl. Of course he ate 10%. Across the street was Dick's on 66, an active towing company that also had an old piece of paved Route 66 road that you could walk on. Then, on to our first diner. Polka Dot Drive-In at Braidwood. Now make sure to ask to sign the guest book. It's an Easter egg because they won't only just let you sign the guest book, but they might give you a Polka Dot Diner keychain, which of course would set off a series of events where we felt compelled not only to get magnets at every stop, but occasionally add a keychain, which would ultimately make our rental car keys massive and unwieldy. I blame you, Polka Dot Drive-In. I blame you. Across the street was the Braidwood Zoo, which was a unique collection of animals crafted in random materials like foam, rubber, concrete, and metal. It's just a short walk across the street from the diner, but definitely the definition of a roadside attraction. Next up was the historic 2-cell jail and Riviera restaurant recreation in Gardner, Illinois. Built originally in 1906, the town restored and renovated it, and now it has a lovely little audio button which plays a recording that goes into great detail on this little jail cell.
Gardner is also home to Theodore Hyatt. In 1863, during the Civil War, his bravery earned him the Medal of Honor.
The restaurant is a faithful replica that you can't enter, but you can see through the windows. The original was destroyed in a fire in 2010 and was reported to be a favorite place for Al Capone to patronize because it acted like a speakeasy during the Prohibition. Now afterwards, 3 of the next 4 stops were historic gas stations. Dwight, Illinois gas station, Odell Standard Oil gas station, Normal, Illinois Sprague Super Service Route 66 station. Here's the thing. The whole point of the Route 66 drive was that you traveled west, and because of low miles per gallon on your vehicle, it was incredibly important to have both gas stations and diners close together. This resulted in most of the Route 66 historic stops being gas stations and diners. And if you are into historic gas stations and diners, you will not be disappointed. If you're me, you'll ultimately develop a sense of bored cynicism when after 30 minutes of driving, the next stop is another gas station or diner. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved walking around, chatting with people that were there. I found my excitement, however, in the interesting food, the beautiful scenery, and just the overall experience of being on the road trip. There's a lot of gas stations and diners. Next was a museum complex in Pontiac, Illinois. What's a museum complex, you ask? It's a bunch of different museums kind of jam-packed in a 4-story building, all with their own subject matter. This one contained Route 66, World War II, and I think there was a military museum. If you're a museum buff, there was a tremendous amount of historical items inside and out, such as Bob Waldemeier's land yacht and Micro VW bus, which would go on to inspire Fillmore the organic gas-pedaling hippie van in the movie Cars. Now, up to this point, the trip was pretty much by the book. ChatGPT and Lisa's research brought us on a calculated set of stops until Funk's Grove. I'm not sure where I saw it, probably on YouTube, but I vaguely remember that there was an American maple syrup farm on Route 66. I didn't add it to our list, but as we traveled through the road, we noticed a large grove of maple trees and a wooden sign for Funk's Grove maple syrup. We passed it and I figured, you know what, nah, we don't need maple syrup, besides it's probably closed. Looking at the scheduled hours, it said it would close in 20 minutes. Screw it. I did a U-turn. We found ourselves eventually under the cool shade of a maple grove. Established in the 1800s, Funk's Grove is probably the best name for a hippie commune, but the founder's name is literally Isaac Funk. Their maple syrup is so old. How old? They spell it S-I-R-U-P. Now, after being handed down the family line, Hazel Funk Holmes put the grove into a family trust. Clever girl. World War II paused production because of heavy sugar taxes, but resumed in 1943. Then Interstate 55 attempted to cut through the timber, but the Funks petitioned to reroute and then erected a sign to not only get the usual Route 66 customers like us, but also trickle in new I-55 drivers. 50-something years later, and the grove is still curated by the Funk family, with several members spinning off a sustainable farming location as well as a nearby creamery. Now, we came in and we were hit with the delicious smell of maple syrup, and we were able to sample not only the classic Funk's Grove maple syrup, but also the bourbon barrel-aged syrup, which was just sinfully good. After getting a couple bottles to bring home and some candies, we were off. It's moments like these where, when we decide to pull off of our scheduled trip, I find wonder on this journey. Once we arrived in Atlanta, Illinois, we got to experience several iconic Route 66 attractions. There be giants. This stop was a giant collector, and we were able to see 3 American giants in one location. We'd gotten here pretty late in the afternoon, so everything was closed, but thankfully, we were able to take in the 3 Americana statues massively towering over us in this quiet little stop. I would learn later that they have several giants and rotate them seasonally, so it might be worth it to visit this place multiple times to see what new American giant is visiting. Finally, after what felt like 100 stops, we got to Springfield, Illinois, and had our dinners. That's right, more than one dinner. We snacked at the Cozy Dog Drive-In, which claims they invented the corn dog that they proudly call the Cozy Dog. The restaurant museum definitely felt like a cozy diner with nostalgic photographs and posters along with a small gift booth. The corn dog itself was great. If you've had a hot dog on a stick, you can tell there's less breading and cornmeal, and it had almost a homemade look to it, but none of that is a negative. It stands out as uniquely their own not corn dog, and you can tell how Pixar and Disney really incorporated Cozy Dog with their own Cozy Cone Inn at the Cars movie. It is, of course, a combination of the Cozy Dog name and the Wigwam Motel, which we'll be visiting later. I believe if you go to California Adventures, you can actually visit the Cozy Cone Inn and have yourself some cone-themed snacks. Now finally, before we ended the night, we were suggested to go to Motorhead's Bar and Grill. It's a high-energy bar and grill with okay food and beer, but the real interest is in the outside decor featuring cars on the roof, Route 66 memorabilia all over the walls, and a large plastic crocodile. Make sure you do a good long walk around while you wait for your meal. That's it! 200 miles later, and we covered our first leg of the drive. This was only the beginning, and tomorrow we would embark another 100 miles to Caseyville, Illinois, in our first major Route 66 road bump. Let us know in the comments below if you've experienced Cozy Dog Drive-In or Funk's Grove. Till then, happy travels. FYI, Interacting with this video, be it a comment, like, or notification, tells YouTube to suggest this video to others. This really helps my channel find its audience, and in turn allows me to develop more interesting videos for you all. So literally write anything you want in the comments. It really helps. Thanks.